Have you ever had that strange feeling? Like your life is happening to you rather than being created by you? Like you're doing all the right things, waking up early, working hard, staying connected, but still, something feels off? You might brush it off as burnout or modern life. But what if that emptiness isn't just random? What if it's designed? What if the life you're living, the dreams you have, the way you see yourself, was never really yours to begin with? Today, we're diving into a theory that's more than 150 years old, yet it explains everything around us, from your job to your phone addiction, to why so many of us feel lost. It's a theory most people misunderstand. A theory so deep it touches the very soul of how society functions. This is Karl Marx, not the cartoon villain, not the communist stereotype, but the philosopher who may have uncovered the secret operating system of modern life. And by the end of this video, you won't just understand Marx, you'll start to see the world differently. 1. The illusion of freedom. Why you think you're free. We're told we live in the freest time in human history. You can wear what you want, say what you want, identify however you want. You can follow your passion, build a business, be your own boss. And on the surface, that's true. But Marx forces us to ask, freedom from what? He argued that what we call freedom is often an illusion crafted by the system itself. Most of us still have to work to survive, rent to pay, and systems we must obey, whether that's your boss, your bank, or your algorithmic feed. You may choose between brands, jobs, or aesthetics, but rarely do you get to question the system that produces those choices. And when we mistake variety for freedom, we overlook the deeper machinery that shapes those options in the first place. Marx believed that people are not just free individuals, they are products of their material conditions. Meaning, the way people behave, think, and relate to each other depends on the system of production in place. You might think you're choosing your lifestyle, but really, you're often choosing between pre-scripted roles in an economic drama already written for you. And the scariest part? Most of us never realize we're in the script at all. 2. The base and the superstructure, the hidden engine of society. Marx introduced a concept that explains how power operates subtly through culture. He divided society into 2 layers, the economic base and the superstructure. The base is where the real action happens. It's the economy, the mode of production, the way goods and services are made and distributed. The superstructure? That's everything else: laws, religion, education, media, values, and even common sense. Here's the terrifying part. The base creates and shapes the superstructure. That means the economy doesn't just affect what people do for work, it shapes what they believe is normal. Think of it like this: if the base is the operating system, the superstructure is the user interface. It looks nice, it feels real, but it's designed to keep the machine running the way it wants. So when you hear phrases like hard work always pays off, it's just business, or you have to be realistic, you're not just hearing culture, you're hearing economic ideology translated into everyday life. You're not just watching a movie, you're watching a story that reinforces the values needed to maintain the economic system that funds the studio. That's how ideology works. You don't have to believe it consciously. You just have to live in it without realizing it. 3. Alienation. Why everything feels empty. If you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, working, eating, sleeping, scrolling, without really feeling alive, you're not alone. Marx had a word for this feeling: alienation. It's what happens when you're cut off from the purpose and product of your own labor. You spend your life producing things, but none of it feels like it belongs to you. In a capitalist system, most people don't own what they make, Whether you're designing apps or serving coffee, you're trading time for survival, not fulfillment. The thing you create often ends up in the hands of someone else while you're left with a paycheck and a sense of emptiness. Over time, you start to feel disconnected from your work, from others, and even from yourself. Marx argued that this isn't just a side effect. It's built into the system. Capitalism needs you to keep working, even if the work erodes your soul. It needs you to be productive, even if you feel meaningless. The system survives by making you think your unhappiness is personal failure. But in reality, it's structural. You're not broken, the system is. 4. Ideology. The thoughts that aren't yours. The most powerful form of control is not force, it's belief. Marx warned us about ideology, a set of beliefs that supports the existing order without us even realizing it. Ideologies don't feel like propaganda, they feel like common sense. That's what makes them so dangerous. Think about the things we're taught to believe without question. Poor people just don't work hard enough. You have to climb the ladder. If you're broke, it's your fault. These aren't natural truths. They're narratives designed to keep the system from being questioned. They shift the blame away from inequality, from structural problems, and redirect it onto individuals, often the very people the system is exploiting. And the scariest part? Ideology feels good. It gives us hope, structure, even pride. It's much easier to believe the game is fair than to admit it's rigged. But once you start noticing the stories you've been told, you begin to wake up. You begin to question. And that's when you become dangerous to the system. 5. The capitalist matrix. Seeing the system. What if we told you that your world, the routines you follow, the values you hold, the desires you chase, isn't entirely your own? This is where Karl Marx's theory starts to echo something almost sci-fi. He didn't talk about a literal simulation, but in many ways, his ideas predate what modern thinkers now call the matrix, not in the digital sense, but a social one. Marx saw capitalism as a self-replicating system of control, not just over resources but over reality itself. It programs people to behave in ways that reproduce the system, not by force but through subtle conditioning. You live inside a matrix not made of wires and screens but of roles, jobs, habits, and ideologies that feel natural, until you realize they were designed for someone else's benefit. In this capitalist matrix, you are taught to define your worth by your productivity. Success is measured in income. Identity is curated through consumption. Even rebellion is often commodified, sold back to you as a product, a brand, a trend. You're encouraged to hustle, but rarely to reflect. You're free to choose, but only within the boundaries of what's profitable to someone else. And the scariest part? The system doesn't just control you externally. Over time, it writes itself into your psychology. You begin to internalize its logic. I need to be constantly busy. If I'm not making money, I'm wasting time. I can't afford to slow down. These aren't just thoughts, they're operating codes that keep the matrix alive. But Marx also gave us a key: awareness. Once you start to question the system, not just its rules but its existence, you begin to unplug. You realize that many of your goals were manufactured, that your stress is structural, and that the constant chase is not a reflection of your personal failure, but a feature of the game. And that realization is powerful. It doesn't mean you escape overnight, but it means you start to move differently. You work with more intention, you consume more consciously, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself the system tried to sell back to you. This is what makes Marx dangerous, not because he gave people something to believe in, but because he gave them a way to see. Marx didn't believe we were doomed. He believed that by seeing the system, we could change it. Not just politically, but personally. Once you stop blaming yourself and start understanding the structure, you reclaim something the system doesn't want you to have: agency, the ability to see, to think, and to choose differently. The real revolution is within. You may not agree with Marx. You don't have to. This isn't about politics. It's about perception. Marx didn't give us a religion. He gave us a lens, a way to see how the system shapes the self, a way to recognize that what we call normal might actually be the machinery of control. And in that lens, there's power. Because once you see the game, you stop playing by its rules. You stop mistaking survival for purpose. You stop blaming yourself for feeling empty. You begin to reclaim your time, your labor, your life. So if this video helped you see even one part of the world a little more clearly, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, comment, subscribe. Let's build a space where seeing through the system becomes more common than being trapped in it. This isn't just Marx, this is us. Waking up.